Hi, and welcome to Alaskan in the Philippines. I'm guessing most of you have heard there was an earthquake over in Burma. If you haven't, there was a 7.7 magnitude earthquake. Epicenter was in the middle of Burma, the northern middle of it, kind of up north, and it was 7.7, and there's quite a bit of destruction in Myanmar. They're saying Myanmar and Burma, it's the same thing. The Burmese. I guess there's quite a bit of destruction in Burma now, and they're asking for emergency help or something. Burma's been in a civil war for past 3 or 4 years, so probably kind of devastating to them. But anyway, it also rocked Bangkok, and a big building construction site fell amongst other damage and rocked the buildings pretty good. And they had some aftershocks. As of last night, I haven't been up to date this morning, but there was 4 dead last night, and it's probably gone higher. There was 80 missing in that building that collapsed. My hairdresser friend sent me a video of it right after it happened. I was actually in the mall here in Market Village, sitting in one of those vibrating chairs that give your back, a massage chair. I was sitting in, so I wouldn't have felt it anyway. But I haven't talked to anyone here in Hue Hin that noticed it or felt it. The mall, nobody got excited at the mall or anything. When she sent me that, she didn't send no context with it, just sent me a video of a building collapse now. What's going on? She didn't say what it was, and then I looked online and I heard there was an earthquake, and at 1 o'clock, yeah, right at the time I was sitting in that chair, and actually it was the time I was talking to a guy I met there in the mall too, so it might have been when I was talking to him. But yeah, we didn't feel it down here. Thankfully, in Bangkok, it's kind of shook up. A lot of the people were staying outside all yesterday. They were going into the parks. Nobody wanted to go in the buildings, big high rises in Bangkok. You wouldn't want to be in one. And I was thinking myself, I'm sitting here in a mall, and I thought, well, this probably ain't a good place too, because they were still having some aftershocks, I guess. They got couple of good jolts on aftershocks. I thought, well, this can't be good. Maybe I ought to get out of the mall and go to the market, the open market. I figured that was a better idea. So I went down and left the mall. But then I was thinking, go back to your own hotel, or my room is it's a 20-story building. So yeah, big castle. But yeah, it's been here for 30 years. I guess hopefully they're recovering people right now, trying to dig through the wreckage. They were lights on it last night, and hopefully they can recover some more people that are trapped in that situation. And I seen some of the footage. You guys look online if you haven't seen it. There's Myanmar showed some streets buckled up, and it moves. I am no stranger to earthquakes. I felt many of them. Living in Alaska, and Anchorage gets hit by them all the time. My first year, I wasn't even there in Anchorage a month, and we had a bad one. I was working in a fish processing plant in a big giant metal building, and we were doing halibut. They were forklifting big pallets, totes of halibut, big giant 300-400 pound halibuts in one tote, just huge. But anyway, yeah, and I was working, all of a sudden I felt a ripple through the building, just a what was that? I thought somebody hit the building with a forklift, is what I thought. I even said, hey, somebody must have hit the building. And then we had the radio on, and the radio just broke in and announced that there was a 6.4 or something earthquake, tremor that just went through, minor damage. So it was no big deal, but it was quite common in the springtime, like March, this time of year, March and April, you'd feel shakes in Anchorage. It's quite common. You'd feel 3 or 4 a year. I'd seem like I would all the time, sometimes more than that. So it's right on a fault line. It's on the same fault line as the Philippines and on down through. There's a fault line that runs in this ridge of mountains right here through Burma. There's a fault line, part 2 plates rubbing together. And this is just a mountain range right here. Burma's right over the mountains. It can't be more than 30, 40 miles by the crow flies, maybe less than that, 50 maybe. But for us to get it, I got to go a couple 100 miles south it goes south and north along the side of Thailand. So luckily we're in the southern part here in Hue Hin, and we didn't feel any of the earthquake at all. And nobody in the mall panicked, even when people heard about it. Nobody got excited, but I know in I'm still in Alaska, in Bangkok, they were staying outdoors because they were afraid of the aftershocks, and I think they reluctantly, some of them went back in last night, and I bet a lot of them slept outside. You really don't, you lose your nerve in them earthquakes. And another example of earthquake, I was flying. It was actually the first time I flew to Bangkok, and I was on my way home flying. I have to go through Anchorage to get back to where I was in western Alaska. I live 450 miles west of Anchorage on the Bering Sea coast. And that was our only airport was Anchorage, so I had to fly from Seattle up to Anchorage, and Anchorage out to my hometown out west. And when I was in Anchorage overnight at a hotel, I was in the Captain Cook, and it's a big building. I think it's like 10 or 20 stories. It's pretty tall too. And I was up on the higher floor, 9 or so. I think it was up on the 9th or something. And I woke up in about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the whole hotel was swaying. And Anchorage had a bad earthquake in 1964, so they put in laws and building codes to where it would have to withstand earthquakes. So the new buildings. And this Captain Cook hotel was swaying. I was in my bed, and it felt like I was actually doing this. I was like, whoa, and I knew what it was. There was nothing I could do. And finally it just stopped. They put cables down the buildings. They actually sink cables, and they do some springs on the foundations and stuff. They do all kinds of great tricks in Anchorage for the buildings because they have so many earthquakes there. And you'll feel them. They actually have a big earthquake park there. They have an earthquake park, and then another one. I was sitting in where I lived out west. We never ever felt earthquakes out there. Never. It was all silt and mud built up, and it was like a jello. We never did feel it. If it did, it would just turn into soup. You know, if it ever did get an earthquake. So at one time I did, and it was right as I was about a week before I left to the Philippines. A trip I was going to my last trip to the Philippines 2 years ago, I think, before I went this year. It was 2 years ago, or about a year and a half. And I was in the Philippines in Dumaguete, and I turned on the news, and there was an earthquake that hit Anchorage. That was that last one they had. It was a 7.2, I think. And there was part of the road that was destroyed, and there was parts of the airport. The Anchorage International Airport had cracks, and concrete fell and stuff, so there was some damage. It was kind of nobody hurt or nothing, but there was some damage on some of the infrastructure. And here I was having to get a flight going back through that airport in Anchorage in a few days. And when I got there in a few days, luckily they had kept it open, but yeah, there was cracks up down inside the buildings and stuff, and the sidewalks. It was, they could tell they had an earthquake there. Luckily they didn't, I wasn't stuck. But yeah, that was the last earthquake. I wasn't in it, but I was in the Philippines when that happened. I flew through and then luckily back out to my home, and then we didn't have them out there anymore. But yeah, well, if you haven't heard about it, there's a bad earthquake. Hopefully Bangkok don't get them very often, every long time, I think 100 years or so. But yeah, they got pretty good jolts, 7 point some. It was lower by the time it got to Bangkok from Myanmar, because it was kind of centered in Myanmar. And I would have thought Chiang Mai would have got it, because of Chiang Mai is up north by it, you know, and then, but I don't know. Luckily we're south in Thailand. It happened like up here in Myanmar, and Bangkok's over here, and Chiang Mai's up here. I figured it would have kind of hit Chiang Mai too. Maybe they did feel it. Other areas probably did in Thailand, but we didn't, thankfully. And hopefully there's no more, and hopefully the recovery efforts go well and save as many as they can. What a terrible thing. You just never know. I seen the video, and you could tell the way that building dropped. There was still, they said 400 workers or something like that were working on it, and there was 80 missing or something like that. 4 were found dead so far as of last night. I'm sure it's more than that maybe by now. But hope that's just one thing. Mother Nature, you really didn't expect any natural disasters in Thailand. They don't seem to get hit by typhoons, but yeah, you never know. Earthquake could get you anywhere, actually. I noticed in the Philippines there were bad earthquakes there. People from Mindanao came up when I was staying in a hotel or someplace. I forget what hotel I was, and I was talking to some people, and they had a big bad earthquake down in Mindanao somewhere. Just, they were getting out of there. They were afraid to go back home. They didn't want to go back home. So an earthquake can really shake you up and make you not want to go indoors for quite a while. It's nothing to be trifled with. It actually, when I felt them, it feels like a wave coming, just like this. It ripples right through the ground, and you can tell it's moving, like that. But when they're bad, they're just, it's bad. So hopefully the recovery efforts, if you're praying kind of people, it might be a good idea to say a prayer for those. And hopefully they can recover, each and every one that is still alive. That would sure be a better thing. Well, I just thought I'd update you that we're okay down here, and there is something going on. I don't know how Bangkok was a state of emergency as of yesterday. They were saying there's some damage around and some infrastructure damage. I don't think it's horribly bad, but it's bad enough to where it's kind of an emergency. They got to get some help going. But anyway, I thought I'd update y'all what's going on since I'm here in Hua Hin. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.